Alright, welcome to the first screencast for the kitchen floor plan. We're going to draw a kitchen similar to this one, where we've got lower cabinets and upper cabinets. The upper cabinets have glass doors. Lower cabinets have wooden doors. We've got a wolf range and range hood. We took a stock symbol for a dishwasher and for a fridge, and we customized that a little bit. We'll do the same thing to the dishwasher. And notice that the casework has one texture, the doors another texture, the kick another texture. We drew a custom counter and gave it a texture. We put in a window. We've got our walls. And when I switch to a top plan, and I'll turn on these section markers, and then we'll look at how to create section viewports and how to get them looking really good so that when we switch to our elevations and update them, we see just what we want, and our elevations have a drawing label that identify the view and the scale. And when we go back to our design layer, we can see that this elevation is drawing number 2 that's on sheet 1, and this is drawing number 1 on, or viewport 1 on sheet 1, and this is viewport 1 on sheet number 2. So we actually create a little legend here to show our viewers where to find these various elevations. So to get started, I'll close this down. We'll start from the beginning. I'll open up a brand new file. And I'll set the scale 1/2 inch, and I'll turn on the page border, and I'll go through and I'll set this up as a landscape, see if that helps us out. And then what I started, or how I started this, was with a PDF or a JPEG of a basic floor plan that I found that talks about the basic work triangle. And what I did is I scaled that. So I wanted my range to be 30 inches. So just like we did the first week of class, I took scale objects, and I'm going to go symmetric by distance, and I'll click this little button here, and I'll go from that point to that point, and I want my new distance to be 30 inches. So I click OK, and there I've scaled my drawing. Let's see if we can bump up and scale and so fit. So that looks a little better. And then lastly, I'm going to change my units back to inches and fractional. So our basic document settings, and we're pretty much ready to go. We're going to create a whole bunch of classes as we go, so I'm going to start here, and I'll create a new one, and I'm going to call this PDF. And I'll turn that on for now, and with my PDF selected, I'm going to assign it to PDF. This will allow me to turn it on and off. So if I'm drawing and I don't want it there, I can turn it off. When I want it, I can turn it back on. So this is pretty handy. So this will be our basic guideline. We might play around with the sizes a little bit to make things work out a little bit neater. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start dropping stuff in and drawing some walls. So the first thing I'll do is draw a rectangle, and I'll make sure that I'm in the fundamentals or your custom workspace that you set up. We're going to switch back and forth between this and architect a little bit, and I'll choose create walls from polygon. We'll put our walls on the outside. We won't use existing wall style because we want to give it a height. 8 feet is fine, 6 inches is fine. We'll click OK, and I'll get rid of that source poly, and I've got my walls, and since each wall segment is separate, I'll delete that segment. Let me turn off my PDF for a quick second. So I have my walls here, and they're kind of open there. It probably doesn't matter a huge amount for what we're doing, but if we wanted to frame this, there wouldn't be any kind of end stud there. So what I can do is select the segment of wall, and here's this thing called caps. So I can cap the start or the end, and the start has the little arrow, and we had no control over which was the start and the end. Typically, if you're drawing just a segment of wall, the first click is the start, the second click is the end, but since we created this from a polygon, the program decides which is the start and the end. So the start has the arrow, the end just has the handle. So in this one, if I want to cap it, I can cap the end. And that just gives us a finished look on our wall. Turn the PDF back on. And we can drop in a refrigerator. So in our architect sampler, let's go look for our refrigerator. Double click. And I don't want to have this inserted into the wall. First click sets it. Second click rotates it. And I can scoot that around a little bit. It's not exactly the same size as the refrigerator there, but we're just sort of guesstimating. And for now, we'll use this boring, blah, nondescript stove for this one over here. We'll replace this with a wolf in a little bit. And same thing, we'll put a range hood in. Double click. First click sets the object. Second click allows you to set the rotation. And last thing I'll look for is a dishwasher. Here we go. And that's going to go in somewhere over here. Something like that. Alright, I'm going to turn my PDF off. And the last thing I want to do is I want to drop a window in right about here. So I'll go Window, and maybe I'll turn my PDF on. See, I can do that right on the go, and I'll just kind of eyeball it. But I want to have my window jump into my wall, and now it's not jumping into the wall because my wall insertion mode was turned off. So I can go up, and I'm right in the middle of doing this. You don't have to stop. And now I can place this in the wall. And let's make this a casement. And I want to have it open that way. So if I just keep clicking on flip, I can set the opening, since I didn't do that right off the bat. And I'm going to put the interior trim and some exterior trim, and I'll make that interior trim 6 inches. Make it a little bit bigger. Alright, and the last thing I want to do is make the width of the window a little bigger, 36. Alright, there we go. I'll turn off my PDF and switch to a 3D view. Get rid of my page boundary for a little bit, and let's see how we're doing. Alright, I can already see a little bit more I have to do on that window. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to change its height to 40. And I have to go up in settings. Remember this from last class. Classes, I want to be able to see through the glazing. So I have to choose glazing, clear. And then the last thing I want to do is I just want to give it a color. I'm not going to bother with textures, but I'll give it a color. There we go. So we have the basics. We've got the key things kind of mapped out for our work triangle. Our sink will be centered under the window, which is kind of standard. We've got a refrigerator and our stove in our triangle. We put our dishwasher just to the right of our sink, and we're ready to start dropping cabinets onto our floor plan.